Hey, this is Mark with Eigen Designs and welcome back to my channel. I have got 4 new CNC projects that I'd like to share with you today so that you can see how I'm using my CNC, which might spark some ideas for you in your shop. And if you would like to make these exact same designs, I'll have links to the plans in the description below. All right, let's get to building. The first project we'll be building today is a cocktail smoketop. These sit on top of a glass and allow you to infuse a cocktail or an old-fashioned with a little bit of a smoky flavor. To use this, you just put a little mesh screen on a ledge that sits on the inside of the smoketop. You add your favorite wood shavings, and then you apply heat directly over the wood shavings, which fills the glass with some smoke. Now, there are other more expensive alternatives out there that involve a glass dome and a dedicated smoke machine, but this is a much simpler solution and is something that you can make on your CNC relatively easily. I designed these cocktail smoketops to be batched out 4 at a time using a series of concentric circles. I'll be removing most of the material with a 3/4 inch bowl bit and then clearing out the middle smokestack and the contour cutout using a 1/4 inch end mill bit. Now, I'm only going to show this once in the video, but the way that I secure my stock whenever I'm cutting all the way through the material is to use some painter's tape and some CA glue to hold it in place on the spoil board. I generally don't mess around with tabs whenever I'm doing these types of projects. It's just a personal preference, but I thought I would point that out. The other thing is I always orient my stock on the lower left-hand corner on the top side of the stock. So if you're using any of my designs, this is the orientation point for the stock that you're going to be using. All right, it's time to let the CNC do its thing. Now, if you want your smoketops to be a little bit extra, you can take a 90-degree V-groove bit and add a chamfered edge to all the top surfaces on your smoketops. This is completely optional. You don't have to do it. It doesn't change your functionality, but it does add a little bit of a softer edge, and it would be really hard to do this on a router table or using a palm router. One word of caution, if you decide to add a chamfered edge to the bottom section of this smoketop, is the clearance between the bottom of the collet and the stock is really tight. So make sure to set your bit shallow in the collet to give yourself the most depth, and double check your measurements before you do any carving, because that can go sideways really quickly. To finish this project, I'll just use a little bit of mineral oil. You want something relatively inert that's not going to react with the high heat that this is going to see. Mineral oil definitely fits the bill for this finish. Now, for this next project, we'll be carving a 2-handed serving tray that's designed to be paired with a larger cast iron serving dish. Now, this is a second iteration of a prior design where I used a much smaller dish, but I got dozens of requests to do the same design but a little bit bigger. So this one's going to have 2 handles, and it's going to use an 8-inch round cast iron tray, suitable for a large single serving or perhaps sharing family sides at a big meal. So to carve this, we're going to use a 3/4 inch bowl bit to move most of the material in the center so that the bowl doesn't move around. And then we'll use a 1/4 inch end mill to remove all the material around the edges. Once the CNC work is done, I head over to my router table just to soften some of the edges, and then I hit it with some sandpaper and some mineral oil. I ended up using a roundover edge for the first tray that I built, and for the second one, I went with a chamfered edge, and I can't decide which one I like more. Let me know if you're part of the roundover crew or Team Chamfer in the comment section below. Next up, we'll be building a smartphone holder made from 2 interlocking pieces. There's a small notch cut at the bottom of the base so that you can feed a power cable through and charge your phone while it sits in the base. This design was heavily inspired from an iPad holder I designed last year, and it has been by far my most popular CNC design. The first toolpath will be to engrave the phone battery icon on the upper part of the phone holder, although you could replace this with your own company logo or some wording or a monogram or something else. And the second will be an end mill to carve out the shapes for the upper and lower piece that interlock together. Once the CNC work is complete, I head over to my router table and put a chamfered edge around all sides of the upper and lower phone holder components. This not only improves the finished appearance of the phone holder, but it also helps the lower and upper pieces better interconnect with one another. I ended up making a few variations of this phone holder using different types of wood and even experimenting with putting my logo on a couple of them. What I like about this design is it doesn't take very much wood and it's pretty quick to batch out on the CNC, so I'm thinking this would be a really good candidate for some Christmas gifts this year. The last project we're going to work on today are some cutting board holders. These are a great, effective way to put your showpiece coming out of your workshop on display so that your friends and family can see just how talented of a woodworker you are. I cut these from a variety of wood species and even played with some intermixing of different species to create a very nice aesthetic. Now this design can be used to display a big end-grain board or 2 smaller boards stacked on top of one another. Now the feet in this design can actually be used without the middle connector and spread much further apart if you want to put a very large board on display. This can be a really effective strategy when trying to establish dominance with other rival woodworkers in your area. Now, the intricacy of this design is already built into the file itself, so the actual toolpath is relatively straightforward. We're going to use an 1/8 inch end mill and cut through the 1/2 inch piece of stock using a contour cutout. To finish this project, I applied a few coats of satin lacquer. Now the nice thing about lacquer is that it dries quickly and you don't have to sand in between coats. Once the pieces were dry, they can then be assembled, and in this particular case, I'm assembling the pecan variant of the cutting board holder. Alright, that is going to be it for this video. I have a ton of fun making these CNC videos. If you have any ideas of things that you'd like me to create, let me know in the comment section below. And make sure you're subscribed because I come out with this content all the time. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.